Hello and welcome to ThePrint, and I'm going to talk to the women of Rocket Boys. I know that sentence sounds slightly oxymoron because when you say Rocket Boys and women of Rocket Boys, but actually my favorite part of watching the first season was that usually in a show that focuses a lot on men, they forget about the women, they forget about characterizing the women in a certain way, but I felt like both of your characters, be it Parvana or Mrinalini, are such amazing people on their own. They definitely don't need the men at any point, I think. And yours is a fictitious character. Yours,
Not entirely, no.
not entirely,
No,
but
it's
yeah,
based on a
based
person
on a
who was
particular, yeah.
a lifetime companion. But yeah,
But yours is like a public figure that was like known for her performance in dance. So individually, I want to know how was it like preparing for your characters, and also because, like I said, like it often happens that when you're focusing on Sarabhai and you're focusing on Baba, there's a tendency to forget about who are the women who are behind also the success. But I feel like that's also a slightly problematic statement because we say behind, so we forget about the success. I feel like the show balanced it like really well because they show their individual lives, their individual stories, as much as they do for the men. So I want to know how was it like preparing for your characters?
do you want to start, Reggie?
Please go ahead.
Okay, because Reggie had a lot more prep to do than I did. But I think my main aim was not to caricaturize a Parsi character, which has happened a lot in the past in our cinema. You know, we take communities and caricaturize them. So, one that. Of course, we're dealing with another era altogether. You know, we're not talking about now times, you know. We're talking about from the 30s to around the 70s. So, I really hope that I kind of captured the essence of, you know, someone who was, you know, affluent and studied outside the country and was a lawyer and an independent woman back then. Outside of that, I think there was a lot of, you know, just reading up about the times. I'm a history student, so that's my playground. So, you know, just digging out whatever interviews you could find, the way people spoke. Language was really clipped back then, you know, because if you're going to a British school, you know, where the British teachers, the way you spoke English was different. So, you know, things like that, posture, how would this woman who's independent back then carry herself in largely a man's world, you know, a lawyer's, you know. So, that, clothes, you know, because she's traveled, she's lived and studied abroad. You know, so there was a lot. And Abhay and I had a Pinterest board, which we used to routinely add photographs to. Outside of that, just lots of rehearsal. Yeah, but this girl, she did so much.
It was interesting preparing for the character. I mean, it started off in the middle of the pandemic, and the moment I knew I was playing this role, the first thing I wanted to do was get my dance lessons perfect. I mean, that had to be priority because she wasn't just a classical dancer, you know. She was a pioneer, and she's, you know, gone on to make a legacy out of what she believed in. And it was important that I looked like someone who knew what she was doing on stage and off stage as well. So off I went to Bharatanatyam lessons, but I'd also learned the dance when I was younger. So I had muscle memory and I knew what I was doing. And I think that was beautiful because it started over Zoom, my lessons, because I couldn't go anywhere thanks to the pandemic. So I would be at it in the house. And from that, reading up, reading the books that she wrote and understanding the character from everything that I could. And you know, when the fact that we were in the middle of a pandemic felt like I couldn't really go out there and get in the information that I really needed, and I had to sit at home and do everything that I could, which was interesting in a way. And then after we started shoot, I had you know, one of the teachers from Darpana come and actually teach me the choreography, and then Malika ma'am actually choreographed the performances. So that's with the Bharatanatyam bit, but also just understanding their lives, which I read, which I felt I learned a lot from her book, just understanding the way she dealt. It was very interesting because everyone had their eyes on this couple as well to see how they dealt with their relationship. And it was no secret to anybody at that time. And just to see how she held her ground and the whole relationship itself and the issues that they face, be it their extramarital issue, or even when Mrinalini tells Vikram that she wants to, you know, start a school of her own and this is her vision. She was a visionary herself, and she had an agenda, and she knew what she was doing. So that was very interesting to inculcate when I was playing her character.
So I just want to share very quickly the two things that I especially love about each of your characters, I think. One that you actually already mentioned, that she herself was also a visionary, and she wanted to do her own kind of thing. And I think that conversation particularly stood out for me, probably as a woman as well, that when I'm watching her hold her ground against her husband, who she loves. It's not even like, let's say in an arranged marriage, I think you start feeling like, okay, it's fine, like this was not, but it's a man she chose to be with. I think that really stood out for me. And I think in your case, the idea that she doesn't wait around.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to be happy. But even today, that's not something a lot of women choose.
Yeah.
That was, I think for me, I think personally, these moments stood out like really important, which is why I said that I felt like the show brought out those choices, especially like you said, it's a time from 1940s to 70s, not a time you would think of women having a lot of agency.
Yeah.
But each of the women taking that agency and living life the way they could, at least to the extent they had freedom to. So I think that was...
I think women of a certain class at that time, unfortunately, I mean, it's, I would have to put it that way, of a certain upbringing and that came from a certain understanding also, were very liberal. You know, these are men and women who have, like Saba said, studied abroad, have had a bigger understanding of what it's going to take to make India an independent nation.
No, definitely progressive.
Yeah,
very, very progressive.
You had to be progressive if you wanted that much for your country.
To build a nation,
to build a nation and to do that. I mean, there was no other way it was going to happen. You can't cover and like sit in prejudices and everything else if you wanted to make a difference. If you wanted to make a mark in the world. To just put it plain and simple, right? You had to have a vision, you had to have an understanding of what it's going to take.
So somebody had pointed out that law, even now, it's seen as a very, very male profession. Like even now, there are very few female lawyers, like comparatively, I mean, like in terms of data. So there are multiple also scenes where you are actually the sounding board for Baba, like when, he's struggling and all. So how was it like building that kind of a chemistry for people to watch? Like for Mrinalini's character, let's say it's a slightly traditional way of movement, right? They see, they fall in love, they move forward. In your case, there's also like a deep friendship right from the beginning. There's that friendship that sort of...
I think they kind of mirror each other, no? And also she's the vantage point from which you can see Baba as a human character, as opposed to just a scientist, who's a scientist, madman, genius, So from her point of view, you can actually see the human, the man who loves, who parties, who loves art and music and plays the violin, and so loves literature. So quotes Shakespeare freely. So I think she's the POV to kind of and the banter between them is actually, I would say, was written in to show that side of him, and that he softens when he's around her. Otherwise he's a man with an agenda and a plan,
Right.
So I thoroughly enjoyed the whole process. Also because, Abhay writes in a way in which everything is kind of, defined for you. You know the crux of the scene. And after that, if you say, hey, I want to change it around in words like this, he'll say, okay, do it. And we rehearse so much and then we go on set and it's like, now play. Now do your thing. So, and then Jim's a theatre actor, I'm a theatre actor, we love improvising, and then we did that. And it was amazing. I really enjoyed, this banter. And that's what I think stuck out for everybody. They were like, it's the friendship, above all, above the love. It's the fact that they're friends first.
There's this beautiful scene that you'll see in this season that I think she did an amazing job with. And you also see Homi and Pipsi's relationship at that point through that scene. And she did a wonderful job. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how good it was, how good she was that day.
Coming back to yours, one of the scenes that also got very viral was the proposal scene in the first. I think everybody meets is like, I want a guy, if you can propose like that. It was going wild. But for me, I think I absolutely love the sass in a way. If I can use the word, I think, from Mrinalini. When the bus, when she's also telling him, like, it's about you, what you want.
Yeah,
you're forgetting about what about me? And I
Yeah.
think that was like so amazing. I didn't expect it. Honestly, I'm watching a 1940s, 70s show. And then I'm like, wait, she's actually saying that you can't just be like, oh, I want you, I need you in my life, so just come running to me. So I think that was like this moment, I'm like, I need to watch this in one go now. What does this woman do? But I think that scene, do you want to talk about it? And how was the shooting about that scene?
Absolutely, definitely. In fact, this is one scene. Actually, a lot of their scenes, Vikram and Mrinalini's scenes, I enjoyed doing, you know, because it was quite quirky, it was quite like witty. They always had things to say. And so many people have sent me screen grabs of this scene and even their other scenes, the first time they meet and all of that. But this particular scene, I remember Abhay and I were talking about it, and I just like to go and do my thing there sometimes, especially for scenes like this, because you don't know what would come out. And we were shooting in a bus, and it was very hectic. Okay, light was going as usual. It's always a story on your guys, come on. So we were in the midst, we were in the midst of chaos when we did that scene. Just to give you backstory,
no one can tell. Literally, no one can tell.
It was
always
peace.
Because Regina is just like, you know, just pristine and peace when she walks on to, you know, it's beautiful.
But it was
Watching her is
crazy.
amazing.
Thank you. It was crazy though, and there was this bit when he says, you know, he talks about himself, and he said, this is I figured, and also he was supposed to go and submit his thesis, and he doesn't come, and for him it's a big thing, but for her she's like. And there was this reaction I gave him, which is there in the scene, and Abhay was like, oh my God, that's perfect. Like, how did you do that? I was like, I don't know what I did. What did I do? I was reacting to him, you know. And Ishwak is a fab actor, and when you have someone like that on the other end, it's so much easier to react. It's so much easier to be in character as well. That I think Ishwak playing Vikram definitely helped me playing Mrinalini also. And coming to your point of standing up for herself, these are the scenes you really like because it's so subtle. There's no force in that scene. She's not making her point, you know, by being loud. She's just standing there and saying, hey, back up a bit, you know. It's not just about you, it's also about me.
It's so strong though.
Yeah.
It's so strong.
Yeah, that's why I said it stood out for me, like in particular, like I was just telling in the previous interview, I was like, I started watching in the morning because I had to write a review. And I was like, I'll watch like a couple of episodes, and then I'm like, wait, I can't, because it would be wrong if I just did. I just like finished it at night, and my eyes were hurting by then because, you know, I had not moved in front of the TV, and then I'm like, wait, scribbling notes continuously. I almost felt like I was back doing my research. But yeah. But the other scene, like I said, it's the visual of that scene, I think the proposal when he's made a rocket. I think that set a standard for everybody. It's like, Nietzsche, I don't think any. That's it.
I'm really glad you like that scene, because also the blue lotus that he sends in the rocket, it comes through the show. So you probably see it in season 2 as well, and it's a really nice connection. I mean, something that I really liked. That I love the way how Abhay connected the whole thing. So yeah, and since you remember the scene, I hope you make that connection.
I will, I'm pretty sure. I think literature students are trained like that. I studied literature, so we're just trained. Do you remember that happened in the book?
In the first season.
Did you see that there?
I remember.
Motifs are things. Metaphors and motifs are things, I think. Coming back, actually, I know that I usually asked the actors like what is the best thing that they liked about a character to play, but I wanted to ask the reverse, like what did you like the best part about her character, and if you have anything that you think like this bit of the character that I absolutely love and for you.
I just loved her quiet strength. This is a really strong woman who put together one of the greatest dance centers in our country, classical dance centers in our country, which stands to date. And she had this amazing, Reggie played it with such quiet grace. You know, there's so much simmering under the surface, but she has played it with so much, like, there's so many layers. There's so many layers. I can't take my eyes off her when she's on screen. It's just amazing. I really, really, really enjoyed her performance of Mrinalini. And I've seen Mrinalini Sarabhai perform. She did a lecture demonstration in my school when we were kids. And my God.
Oh, wow. Wow. That, I wish I had that experience as well to see her, you know, perform and talk, but thank you. And when it comes to Pipsi, Parvana, just the fact that she stood out. I think, first of all, she's a fab actor. like you said, you didn't caricaturize, you know, the community, the person that she was. I think she, again, there's a lot of grace in what she did, the way she is. I've never seen Parvana Pipsi. I have no idea, you know, about this person when it comes to history. And all I can take away from the character is how she played it. And you know, if someone now tells me about Parvana, I'm just going to probably have this image in my mind. And I think it's a great image to go home with.
I think we would end with this very warm, nice note. I think this is the most fun I've had in interviewing somebody in a while.
Hey.
Not just, also because it's an all-women panel at
Yeah,
this
I was
point.
really happy.
And we
I was
don't
like,
sound like feminists when we say that, obviously.
But yeah, I think this is what I had been wanting to speak about ever since I watched the first season. So for me, again, it's a big deal because I finally get to
Thank
ask
you.
these questions.
I also think credit to Abhay for, you know, writing the women so strong.
Yeah.
Of course, Mrinalini's character is strong, but also credit to him to, he didn't need to write Parvana like this, but he was adamant that his women are going to stand on their own and that you're going to see their strength, you know, and yeah, independent of the men,
Yeah.
you know, and I love that he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a rare talent amongst men, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you guys for talking to me, and I think that's what will stand out for the next generation who watch the show, like every generation, that for them probably you would mean Mrinalini as much as the real person, and for them, like she also already has said it, that just like for her, if she ever gets to know more about Parvana, it'll be first you, and I think that's how everybody else would also remember you as Mrinalini and you as Parvana.
Oh, that would be an honor.
That would be
That would be an honor.
And again, thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
Thank you.